Right, let's go to the United Kingdom now, where Professor Tim Wilson, political commentator, and I will discuss what's going on in the UK. Professor Tim Wilson, always a pleasure to see you, sir. You're looking well. Now, I mean, this news has been top story for the last week, maybe more. All the headlines, all the newspapers around in England, the Guardian, the Telegraph, even the Daily Mail, maybe perhaps not the Daily Mail, but everyone's talking about this. And we watch Boris Johnson in the House of Commons. My first question to you, sir, is why does he keep referring to this Sue Gray report? Who is Sue Gray and why is she involved?
Well, Sue Gray is a senior civil servant, and she is conducting an investigation into what rules were broken, if any rules were broken, and she is due to report. Now we learn she's due to report sometime next week. Now, she will first give the report to Boris, so he will have a heads up before that report becomes public. And there is some hope, I suppose, from Boris's side that she's going to exonerate him. However, patience is wearing very, very thin in Conservative ranks. Patience is already worn out in the rest of Parliament. People are calling for Boris to go, but people in his own party, in the Conservative Party, are also calling for Boris to resign. Now, the problem is who would replace him, and this is why the Conservative Party is pausing slightly. That's one reason, because the obvious candidates for replacing him are not necessarily the best. They would be slightly more right-wing, in all likelihood. People like Liz Truss, possibly even Priti Patel, possibly Dominic Raab, Michael Gove. These are the candidates. We've heard many of their names before. Mm-hmm. What the Conservative Party may be doing at this moment is waiting for some backbenchers to emerge as possible candidates, waiting for the local elections to take place in May, which now are likely to be very poor, and therefore Boris can be blamed for the whole thing. If they replace somebody now, then the new Prime Minister will have to shoulder the weight of disastrous election results in May. So that is one strategic reason why maybe the Conservative Party is pausing. Another reason the Conservative Party is perhaps pausing at this moment, beyond waiting for Sue Gray to report back next week, is what happened yesterday. Now, yesterday was extraordinary political drama, because a man who had been elected in this area in the north of England, which is often called the Red Wall, these are seats which have hitherto been held strongly by the Labour Party, fell to the Conservative Party in the election that Boris ran.
Right.
So they got their seats because of Boris. And one of them, a fellow called Christian Wakeford, has gone over to the Labour Party. He's crossed the floor. This is such an unusual step. Now, what should he do now? I think, given the fact that he's said this about other people in the past who crossed the floor, he should stand aside and call a by-election and stand as a Labour candidate on a Labour manifesto. The manifesto he was elected on was a Conservative manifesto. But what his action has actually done, it's played into Boris's hands, because now his backbenchers are looking aghast at somebody who has betrayed them, at somebody who has gone over to the other side, and if they were thinking of a mass rebellion, that mass rebellion has paused. They have been shocked, and they've been shocked into supporting him. So yesterday, at Prime Minister's Questions time, there was an extraordinary contrast to what we heard the week before, when the Conservative backbenchers sat almost in silence as they listened to Boris's apology, and a very carefully worded apology, which Mr. Starmer pointed out. He said yesterday it sounded as if it had been written by a lawyer. Absolutely. But Christian Wakeford's defection has made the backbenchers bay with delight at Boris's performance. And Boris was very good yesterday. He was only tripped up right at the end by David Davis, who asked a very mild question and followed it up with a quotation. Now, the quotation has been variously attributed to a fellow called Leo Amery, and he did indeed say it in 1940. He said to Neville Chamberlain, "In God's name, go,
right.
leave." And Chamberlain had just survived very narrowly a vote of confidence, and it's surprising at this moment that the opposition party haven't called a vote of confidence in the government.
Right.
But they probably thought that would bring the government together. Now, Leo Amery did indeed say, in God's name, go, and the following day, Neville Chamberlain resigned, and Churchill was appointed Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm.
But Leo Amery was actually quoting Oliver Cromwell. And this was at a time, the Long Parliament, which I think had sat for about 20 years, and he stood up. He said, "In God's name, go," and the Parliament was disbanded.
Right.
And depart, I think he said.
Okay.
So
it wasn't directed at. Okay, gotcha. All right. So.
No.
All right. Okay. So I mean, Boris is on the back foot. Why he's defending himself. Keir Starmer is going for the jugular at every possible move. Is it possible that we could see a switch in government? I mean, okay, Boris steps down, someone replaces him, but when we have the elections, could this be Conservative out, or is it just Boris Johnson's, Prime Minister Boris Johnson's, this one-off mistake?
I think it's very unlikely that the Conservatives will be out immediately. I think it is inevitable that Boris will resign before the next election, possibly sooner, and this is why we have to wait for the civil servant to present her case. And if Boris has been found to have been guilty of rule breaking, then he will have to resign. There's no question about that. But I think the Conservatives are hoping that he can hang on a little longer so that an appropriate replacement can be found. I mean, all the people who are itching to lead the Conservative Party and become Prime Minister are in some way tainted with the sleaze and the mess that is bubbling to the surface at the moment. Rishi Sunak, for example, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, has built a very expensive swimming pool at a time when he was taking money away from the poorest of the poor. It doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't. Tim, we're running out of time, sadly. Tim,
sorry.
You and I could go on for hours, I know. We should have a new program, just Tim and I just chatting for a few hours.
I look forward to that.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me, Tim. Take care, stay safe. Thanks for bringing us up to speed.
Thank you very much.
Right, we're going to go now live. Let's go over